Okay, I'm gonna try to break this down because I think that, hold on, I really hate ambulances. I've had such bad traumatic experiences with them. But anywho, okay, I'm gonna try to say this the best way that I can, okay? I'm gonna try to stay slow because my brain is like, it runs 100 miles per hour, and that's part of the symptoms of coming out of a lot of, the things that I've been through that you already know, right? Okay, so here it is. Many people from many walks of life grew up with their religion. That's what we're going to call it, right? Religion. Buddhism, Islam, Catholicism, Christianity, paganism, all different cultures, right? They grew up with their way being the right way and the only way, right? But that wasn't their fault. It's because our forefathers and foremothers before us, right, were also trained that same way, and then before them, then before them, then before them. So history, again, repeating itself, right? So here's the thing. When people break out of that, right, a lot of individuals I see, like, they're trying to understand how to get out. 1, 2, what does it mean to get out? 3, what are you getting out from, right? And that's something you've got to go and do your due diligence, your research about, because someone like me or somebody else, right, teaching you, is it going to give you what you need? Just as my mother-in-law, my fiance, and others have shared with me, right, I have to do my own research so that I know that I found that, I learned that, I didn't feel forced to learn that, I didn't feel like I had to learn it that way because that's, the way that I was conditioned and programmed. No, I get to learn because I chose to go and learn that. I chose to take on the parts of the upbringing that I did have that were good. I chose to take on the parts of Christianity that were good, that were right, and leave behind that which is wrong, that which was false, that which is not healthy, right, and not in alignment with God's will and for my life, right? In the same way, you all have to do this. You all, I wouldn't say have to, because I know that's triggering to some people. You all have to, you all choose. You have to make the choice for yourself, right? What that looks like for you. And sometimes that requires prayer, right? Praying for what is called spirit of discernment, okay? And you gotta look that up too, because I can see and break that down, but I'm really trying to basically recap just something that I have learned and come to grips with, in hopes that it helps others who resonate and or understand or want to understand, right? When those that are coming out or want to get out of that cult, that belief system, that programming, that conditioning that they grew up in, right, want to get out, for me, it's, that realizing the anger and the hurt and the shock, right, that, oh my gosh, that's what I experienced, that's me. That was sexual assault, that was rape, that was Bill Gothard's teachings indoctrinated into the way I was taught, and in homeschooling, because I was homeschooled, right? But not just in that, in the churches, in the camps that I went to, Team Pat, NC, Endeavor, Summit Ministries, all of it was ingrained in all of that, and that is why all the people around me, surrounded me, were the same way. And this is going to offend a lot of people, and that's okay, because my goal is not to offend you. My goal is to share what is true from now someone who has walked out of that and looking at it at face value, not the way I like to see it, right? For the individuals that come out, right, and they don't want to feel silence, but they also aren't trying to share, right? You choose for you what that sharing means. Do you want to share more than or less than? And that's just where you're at, and that's okay. But at some point, even for those that are on the outside looking in, you had to choose if you're going to move forward, right? You got to choose, am I going to step out of that, or am I going to continue to live in this because it's so against my system that I can't pull back the curtains, put down the walls, and say, maybe I don't have it all. Maybe I'm not completely right. Maybe the way I grew up and the way I was trained and programmed and conditioned isn't the the only answer, right? And that's not to like belittle you, that's not to make you feel like, oh shit, I'm what she's talking about. No, it's simply to bring awareness to many of those who have expressed that you want to understand but you're not sure how, right? Well, this is me trying to break it down as simply as I can. By the way, it's very hard for a lot of survivors and or victims that they're working into being survivors, right, to share, period. That's why a lot of us stick to writing, because to verbally share is really like, I don't know, for me it be before now, right, it was very like threatening to my system, and like my brain would just continue to shut down or close up, or I'd have meltdown after getting off the video or posting something, because it's so against the conditioning of my mindset, the way I was trained. It's like, again, goes back to defending and no, like that's wrong, and it's like, wait, hold on, let me step back, let me pause. Because maybe if I took out the plugs that were in my ears, right? Maybe if I took off the blinds that were over my eyes, maybe then I could see from the other side. Maybe then I could hear from the other side. And that goes for all people in all walks of life. I really do understand and resonate with, losing children, with attempted and or did go through with abortion, right? Sexual assault, rape, military assault, harassment, rape, right? Being brought up in a very religious, hell-bent background, and for me, actually, to even recognize that I did fall in line with that group, I was like, oh wow, like just watching shiny, happy people, right? I was like, that was me. Like, not everyone experiences that same thing, right? But you experience a form of that, because all cultures have what? Their own religions or set of beliefs. But I was raised that their view and their worldview and their perspectives were all wrong, and I was taught how to defend my worldview, right? My religion, and taught that Christianity is this, Christianity is that, and in actuality, yes, some of it was right. Some of it was right. Some of the things were on point, but a lot of the things were wrong, and a lot of the things were taught in the wrong manner, in the wrong perspective, right? And for a while, like growing up, that I was deconstructing all of that. I was watching, I was looking, I was trying to understand the world around me, even my own adopted family, right? And it was really rough. It was hard to be seen but not seen, heard but not heard. It was like I was a wall that you're like, what, but like you couldn't hear, because why? Because you couldn't pull back the curtains and maybe see that your world wasn't the only world that existed, isn't the only world that existed, isn't the only religion that has things right and wrong, right? So in some of that, yeah, my parents actually did well in some of their things. I'm not saying that, they failed in all areas, no, but, and it goes back to this, my parents were just as much, if not more, indoctrinated by their upbringing, their way. That's why both my parents actually, one, it has a different background than the other. One brought something to the table that the other didn't. The other brought something to the table that the other didn't have, right? And yeah, they're not gonna like this, but right here, it comes back down to DBC. And DBC is not the only church. DBC is one of the huge examples of the same churches that practice this, because there were people in DBC that were actually good people that saw just like I did, people that were not on the inside of that cult or that programming or that condition, whatever you want to call it, that makes you feel comfortable. But it's best to just call things as they are, so that your brain doesn't keep triggering yourself that it's not true, right? Because then otherwise you go back into that cycle, and then you're confused, and then you're mad, and then you're angry, because now you're fighting your own self. Stop fighting yourself. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself come out of that mentality, step outside of yourself, and see maybe that person has something right. I might not agree with all of it, but maybe I can learn a few things. And that's how it started for me. I had to first start to set back the things that, I had been conditioned and programmed. And that began with my sponsor in AA, right? That's what I really love, was my sponsor and the way that she taught, not necessarily AA, because AA was just another form of following what was being taught, but that it gave me something that other places hadn't, other people hadn't, and I loved it, and I learned from that.